Your copy? I can read it. You can read it or just to put it in the record. So, thinking about the possibility that we may not have enough room, I've spoken to the pastor, and it's the church's intention to let us park in the back of their lot 15 additional cars for whatever use we find in case, you know, we don't have room.
Okay. Can you pass that to Mark? It would have been nice to have, I mean, the letter is here, but have the pastor who wrote this letter giving permission to be here, but
I cannot summon him, and you know, he's working with a walker. I don't know him enough.
Well, I know. I think in order for anything, I'm asking Madam Chair to maybe put a limit on the amount of cars that you would have on a lot. I don't even know, well, I can't speak on the pastor and about all those cars. How many cars at his church and his lot? 10 to 15?
If I may.
And what will his congregation do? Park on the street?
Just to clarify, if I may, I'm not putting cars for sale on his lot. He's enabling me the back 2 rows of his space, just in case we need to park cars there. They're not posted for sale. They won't be for sale. They're just sitting there in case, because we don't want to jam, just like you don't want my lot jammed. I don't want to jam. I have to move cars in the lot.
But I'm concerned about his lot. His lot is not that big. And when he has different things going on, I mean, say he has a funeral or something going on there, he doesn't have a lot of parking. That's the reason why he put that parking lot there. Because on the street, there's not a lot of parking there on his, you know, on that little street. So my concern would be where his people would park then.
So, again,
But that's not up to you. I guess we need to question him about that.
any more questions?
Borough manager, first and foremost, Borough was notified that by the pastor that he wasn't going to allow parking on the church's property. I think that yes, please, that there'd be no parking on the lot, Madam Chair, until we get something from Reverend Nelson or his board of trustees.
It says the board. It says it. You know.
And it's sealed.
Right, so it's sealed, it's legal, it's notarized, so it's unfortunate that no one from the church is here. However, we have to go by the letter that has been presented.
I feel like I inadvertently put in the church where maybe it doesn't belong. The pastor and I, what we discussed was that should I need space, he's willing to rent it to me. Not that I would use his lot. And that my concern was, it's a small lot, and I didn't want to find myself all of a sudden parking on the roof.
Patrick,
Yeah, I have another question since it came up about the lot. Is the church or the pastor being monetarily compensated for your use of the lot?
That is what we're discussing, correct. We haven't settled on if it would be renting that space should the space be needed. But we haven't accorded that.
Thank you.
See,
I'm sorry, go ahead,
I mean, the issue is the church has to meet a certain amount of parking spots. The whole issue of them putting that parking lot there years ago was because they needed additional parking. They couldn't park on the street. They can't park on the street anyway. So they needed that parking lot for the church. So him just offering 10 to 15 spots, I know it might be as needed, but him offering spots he really can't do that until he figures out what he needs. And then the other issue would be with Edward here is he also has to figure out, we have to figure out what he can fit on his lot. I mean, McGowan, everybody knows the size of it. McGowan's not a big lot. So we got to figure out what he can put on. So, I mean, the problem is he's in highway commercial. is what he's zoned. So he is allowed to do used car sales. It is a use permitted by right. And for him to do minor repair on the vehicles that he is selling is allowed. It's not a mixed use. But he cannot fix vehicles as a, for somebody just to stop over and get a vehicle fixed off the street is not allowed. It would fall into a mixed use, so that would not be allowed. But for him to fix the vehicles he's selling, that is allowed in the highway commercial. But, I think if you want to move this forward, if you desire to, it's fine, but I think you have to do this. We need to get over there and measure out spots per zone, what's the size of the parking spot, and figure out how many cars we can fit there. We've done that before, and, I think it needs to be done again here, so.
If I may.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Well, actually, to the gentleman's point, I was going to suggest if we can meet. We have met before on the lot together with Tom. More than happy to share with you what I envision right now when you're there, of where to put them, which includes the area in the back. It's not optimal for display of cars, but at least I can put them there, and also on the side of the building. So, by all means, I'm there almost every day these days.
Right, which is not a problem.
Yeah.
It's 9 by 18 is the parking spot, and he's going to be required a handicap spot because he is a business. So that's what we got to figure that all out. So.
Mr. Black.
When you do that, Mr. Sunny, I think that you should contact Reverend Nelson or have someone from his trustee board meet you today at the same time, so that we're not just listening to this gentleman. We know that from you and from the trustee board that everything is on the
Right. Yeah, and we need to talk to the Reverend Nelson, because his parking is based on not only the square footage of the church, it's also based on the size of the congregation, because that's what we did with the church over on 71 North McGade. We based a lot of that's based on congregation size and square footage. So we got to make sure everything's there. He can't just offer 10 to 15 spots without realizing what's required of him and in that parking lot. So.
Mr. Day, you had a question?
Well, the question I had was something that Mr. Percentage had just said. A number of cars per square yard in the parking lot, and see, before we can move on to see the number of cars that are required for him to sell in it, irrespective of the fact that he also have to repair the cars. So,
Any other questions?
I just wanted to clarify one thing.
Can you go to the mic, please?
Yeah. My name is Joseph Van Wyk. I just wanted to clarify something about the renting the space from the Reverend. That's really extra. His property is big enough by itself to accommodate his business and the required parking under the zoning ordinance. So I didn't want to.
You're saying the church?
No, without the church, without considering the church. That was just an extra thing.
Right, and that's why we said we will get the officials to go out and do the measuring,
So with all due respect, we don't know that, because we don't know how many cars it's going to be selling.
Right.
No, I understand, sir, but I'm saying that it does qualify under the ordinance for his operation there. It's a question of, I agree with you.
We're not questioning.
The issue is not whether he can do the business there. We're trying to minimize nuisance in the area, cars parking in the street, double parking and things like that. And also we want to make sure that if there's an emergency in that place, emergency vehicle can have access to that place.
Any other questions? Okay, so we will move this to our council meeting on the 20th, pending the outcome of the appointment that you have with Mr. Cynthia, Mr. Gaffney, and Reverend Nelson. Thank you very much.
Thank you.